Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to Black Fiction Addiction. I'm your host, Chandra Sparks Blonde, and as always, I'm just so excited to be here with you today to talk about some great Black books I'm excited to read in 2020. Although I listened to a lot of books in 2019, I didn't get to do a lot of reading of physical books, so this year is my goal to change that. I support authors all the time by buying their books, whether it's an ebook or an actual printed copy. And I have a ton of books saved in my Kindle app. So I'm just looking forward to actually reading physical copies of books this year, whether it be an ebook or a printed version. That being said, not all the books that I've included in my roundup will actually be published in 2020. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the list of books that I'm excited to read this year. The Boyfriend Project by Farah Roshan. When Farah Roshan posted the cover of her upcoming book on Facebook, I immediately knew that it had to be added to my to-be-read pile. I already know she's a gifted writer, and this book just looks like a fun read. Samaya Brooks never thought she would be that girl, but a live tweet of a horrific date just revealed the painful truth. She's been catfished by a three-timing jerk of a boyfriend. Suddenly, Samaya, along with her two other girlfriends, London and Taylor, have gone viral online. Now the three new besties are making a pact to spend the next 6 months investing in themselves. No men, no dating, and no worrying about their relationship status. A Little Bit of Karma by Rashonda Tate Billingsley. I think I've read most of Rashonda's books. This just seems like a fun read, and it's a cover that I love. So in the book, we meet Shannon and Jay Lovejoy, the rich and successful power couple, who to the fans of their call-in radio show seem like they've got it all. But after 3 years, their once passionate and loving romance has fizzled, and the couple's divorce becomes embroiled in not only a mess of infidelity and deceit, but the untimely and shocking death of Jay's mistress. The Duke, the Lady, and a Baby by Vanessa Riley. This is another cover that immediately made me want to add this book to my to-be-read pile. Vanessa is well known for her carefully researched historicals, but I found out that A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby is her first time being in print, which is pretty surprising to me. I guess I just assumed that the other books she has, because she has a ton of them, were actually in print, and apparently they're just ebooks. During an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Vanessa revealed while she was working on the book, she happened to be watching the old movie The First Wives Club, and she realized that the characters in the movie could use some advice from works by authors like Jane Austen, as well as from the women of Downton Abbey, which I find hilarious. In the story, headstrong West Indian heiress Patience Jordan questioned her English husband's mysterious suicide. As a result of it, she lost everything, including her newborn son and her freedom. Busick Strathmore comes along determined to resolve his dead cousin's dangerous financial dealings for the sake of his cousin's son. Soon he and Patience form a fragile trust, but will it be enough to save the future they long to share together? Hannah's Heart by Denise Walker. Denise released a couple of books last year, and I've been meaning to check her out, so I thought I'd start with Hannah's Heart, which is her latest release. In the book, Hannah Monroe desires peace at any cost. With family drama, trying to overcome her past, and the school conflict, she's headed down a dark path to destruction. Hannah will do anything in her power to keep her mind off the turmoil she feels inside. Her saving grace arrives in the form of a new student named Devin Moore. I don't know about you, but I love a good series, and there are several that are on my radar this year. One of them is the Restoration series by Rhonda McKnight. There are 3 books in the series, 2 of which Rhonda released last year. Book 1 in the series is The Winter Reunion. Everyone knows the woman in the viral video that hit 2 million views on YouTube. Humiliated, Tamar Johnson has changed her name and disappeared behind the embarrassing video that captured her losing her virginity on prom night. But we don't know who the guy was. NFL running back Stephen Pierce is football's darling. He's endeared himself to fans as a devoted Christian, even claiming celibacy. Stephen is determined to get his ex Tamar to come out of hiding, even going as far as posting their prom picture on Instagram in hopes that she'll accept his challenge to show up at their reunion. Tamar isn't interested in the reunion, but her boss is. So before it's all over, will the world find out about who the real Stephen Pierce is? And will Tamar survive spending time with the only man who's ever had her heart? In book 2, The Winter Wedding, Stephen Pierce has asked Tamar to marry him, and their lives spiral out of control. When a tragedy happens, Stephen is challenged in ways that he never expected. So we find out whether he'll stand strong in the face of adversity, or if a crisis of faith will reveal who he really is to himself and his fans. Then finally, in book 3, which is The Winter Baby, we have a new set of characters. And an unexpected road trip leads to angry emotions and a recipe for the perfect storm. Clyde Stowe is a reformed bachelor turned devoted boyfriend, but when Kim Haynes refuses to break her vow of celibacy, their romance ends. The unexpected road trip forces them together where angry, unresolved emotions push them even further apart. What they don't expect is for nature to intervene in ways that they aren't prepared for. The Other Sister by Donna Hill. I've been a fan of Donna Hill's for as long as I can remember, and I actually had the honor of serving as her editor when I worked at BET Books Arabesque. This year, she's releasing a new women's fiction novel, The Other Sister, which is the sequel to A House Divided. So in the story, Kimberly Matlin is a brilliant Senate candidate, a tech mogul's loving wife, and a mother to 2 precious daughters. As a member of one of the country's most prominent families, she grew up having it all and fighting to help those who need help most. But when journalist Zoe Crawford reveals her family's best hidden, most shattering secret, the media firestorm and personal fallout are beyond devastating. Another series I'm looking forward to reading is the Kings of the Castle series, which is comprised of 9 books by New York Times and USA Today bestselling authors Nelina Kai, S.L. Jennings, Martha Kennerson, J.L. Campbell, Lisa Watson, Karen D. Bradley, Janice M. Allen, London St. Charles, and Marze Scott. What I love about the series is that each author has written a full-length book. Over on my blog, I've been doing interviews with each of the individual authors of the series, and I've enjoyed finding out how they work together to bring the project to fruition. To give you an overview of the entire series, when their mentor and founder of the castle ends up on the business end of an assassination attempt, the main characters of the books are snatched from their daily lives and successful businesses in order to right old wrongs and track down the men responsible for the attempt on his life. Sacrifices of Joy by Leslie J. Sherrod. I included the Sienna St. James series on my list of books I fell in love with in 2019. The next one I plan to read is Sacrifices of Joy. In her most chilling challenge yet, the main character, Sienna St. James, believes she has come face to face with the terrorists responsible for the carnage in her hometown. Taking him on as a client in her therapy practice may be the only way to prove to herself and authorities that her time-tested instincts are right. Complicated matters are her damaged dreams and broken heart, and the need to finally confront the one person whose absence from her life has changed everything. Small Town Love by Michelle Stimpson and Michelle Linda Rice. I'm a huge Michelle Stimpson fan. I think I've read most of her books. When I found out she was doing a series with Michelle Linda Rice, adding the series to my list was a no-brainer. I plan to read all the books in this series once they're released, but for now I'm eager to read the first book in the series, which is Small Town Love. So in the story, Sean Morrison has returned to Lovetown, Texas with one purpose in mind, and that's to claim Janiyah Thompson as his wife. He has his faith, his military career, his upscale apartment, and with Janiyah by his side, his life will finally be complete. But Sean has a secret that could destroy his newfound relationship. Office Policy by A.C. Author. I just love how versatile A.C. Author is as an author. She's written in a lot of genres, and she recently released what she's calling her After Hours series, which includes Office Policy. And all the books in the series have been updated with additional content. And she put a note out on one of the social media platforms, or maybe on all of them, advising readers that if they're going to read the series, to make sure that they read the ones with the updated cover because they have the new content in them. So in the series, Sienna Turner is an ambitious litigator who has just been assigned the city's most high-profile sexual harassment case, only to discover she's working with her colleague, the sexy and debonair Keith Page. Sienna finds herself at the center of the harassment claims, and office drama comes to a fevered pitch. As a result, Sienna and Keith will rely not only on their legal acumen to stay on top, but also their love for each other to stay alive. Arguably the queen of contemporary romance, Brenda Jackson is re-releasing 2 books in her Westmoreland series. It's going to be a 2-in-1, 2 books in 1 series, with the titles Westmoreland Way and Hot Westmoreland Nights. Brenda is another author I worked with briefly while I was at BET Books, and I've read a ton of her stories, and there's no question that she's just an amazing author. So I know these 2 will be great reads. Westmoreland Way features real estate tycoon Dylan Westmoreland and business owner Pamela Novak. Dylan is the eldest of the Denver Westmoreland clan, and he has staked his claim on Pamela, and he's not going to let anything tear them apart. In Hot Westmoreland Nights, Denver rancher Ramsey Westmoreland's new cook, Chloe Burton, is so delectable. When he discovers her ultimate betrayal, he is set to satisfy himself with cold showers until he realizes his fatal mistake. Never underestimate the power of the human heart, especially a Westmoreland's heart. Wild Rain by Beverly Jenkins. This is the second novel in USA Today bestselling author Beverly Jenkins' Women Who Dare series. A reporter has come to Wyoming to do a story on doctors for his black newspaper Back East. He thinks Colton Lee will be an interesting subject until he meets Colton's sister Spring. She runs her own ranch, wears denim pants instead of dresses, and is the most fascinating woman he's ever met. But Spring isn't looking for, nor does she want, love. As their attraction grows, will their differences come between them or unite them for an everlasting love? Lean on Me by Pat Simmons. Pat has been one of my clients for years, and when I heard her Caregiver series had been picked up by a traditional publishing house, I wasn't surprised. The topic of even caregivers needing caregivers is a very timely one, and Pat has done a great job with executing the series. So in book 1 of the series, Lean on Me, Tabitha Nicely is overwhelmed with sorrow and exhaustion, caring for her beloved great aunt, whose dementia is getting worse. When her neighbor Marcus Whittington accuses Tabitha of elder neglect, he doesn't realize how his threats to have Aunt Tweet taken away add to Tabitha's pain. As Marcus gets to know Aunt Tweet and sees up close how hard Tabitha is fighting to keep everything together, Tabitha finds herself leaning on Marcus more and more, and he's becoming more than happy to share her burdens. Last but not least, in the books that I'm looking forward to reading in 2020 is the Prototype series by Jacinta Howard. Now, I didn't read the first book in the series, Happiness in Jersey, until after I recorded my segment on books that I fell in love with in 2019. Otherwise, it definitely would have been on the list because I really enjoyed it. I'm so excited to finish out the rest of the series, including the two surprise short stories that she just released, I think, a couple of days ago. The series follows the members of a band called The Prototype, and it's a new adult series that just takes me back to my college days. The second book in the series, which is where I'm going to pick up this year, is called Finding Kennedy. When Kennedy James unexpectedly shows up at her grandma's house in Tyler, Texas, no one knows what to make of her arrival, including her. The only thing Kennedy does know is that something in her life has to change, and it needs to happen right now. Then she meets Travis Broussard, the perceptively cool guitarist of the indie soul band, The Prototype. The timing couldn't be worse, but their attraction is instant, magnetic, and at times overwhelming, causing Kennedy to question if it's possible to feel too much. Book 3 of the series is Keeping Willow. In the book, Devin Walker, who's the drummer for The Prototype, has one priority, and that's to turn his alt soul band into the superstar act it's destined to become. Devin is singularly focused on his music. His creative passion is all-consuming. That is until he crosses paths with his best friend's college roommate, Willow Harden. Finally, in book 4, Cassandra James thinks she has her place in the world all figured out. But an unexpected betrayal forces her to ask if her free black girl vibe is a myth, or worse, a mask to hide herself from the world. Bam Mosley, keyboardist for the alt soul band The Prototype, knows who he is. He just wants to make good music and see the people he cares about win. Then he meets Cassandra, who is gorgeous and smart with hypnotic eyes. But his bandmate's sister wasn't supposed to be this disruptive and break down all his defenses. Well, everyone, that's it for this week's episode of Black Fiction Addiction. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear about books that you're excited to read in 2020. If you've enjoyed this episode, please click the subscribe button and tap the bell so you'll be notified when new episodes release. I'm praying that 2020 will find your wildest dreams coming true and that it'll be filled with lots of addictive books. Until next time, happy reading.